Yeah, the sky's a little bit messed up right now, so the lighting is all that great, I apologize, but I took a month to just relax, go on vacation, celebrate graduation, and now I'm back with some movie reviews, and we're gonna start off with a banger of a film. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the ninth film by Quentin Tarantino, and it stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, and Margot Robbie. And this film is set in 1969 in Hollywood. And 1969 was quite the changing era. Basically, you were having old stars like Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Rick Dalton, and his stuntman, who were aging and they were living in the past. They were not able to change, to improve with the times, because that is the period where you get the new Hollywood, this new era of filmmaking that is very different from films being shot in studios, from films being made in a specific way. And then on the other side of those two characters you get Sharon Tate, played by Margot Robbie, who is portrayed as an angelic creature of sorts. And I have to say, I've read so many reviews, so many analyses about this film, and the main thing that you have to know going into it is exactly what the title says. This is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is not an historical movie, or at least not a purely factual one. This is a fairy tale like pretty much every single other Once Upon a Time film was. And this title has been used countless times in westerns, more famously the movies by Sergio Leone, including Once Upon a Time in America. You've got this even in a Robert Rodriguez film, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. All of those films are set in interesting eras. They can be either really old, they can be relatively new or modern, but they're all fairy tales. They all have fantastical elements to them. They all feel like the reinforcements of certain myths. And this one does as well in a certain way. And Tarantino already flirted with this idea of a Once Upon a Time title with Once Upon a Time in Nazi-occupied France. That was going to be the title of Inglourious Basterds initially. But then he changed it for other reasons. I think Rodriguez recommended him to change it, something like that. But now we finally have Once Upon a Time by Tarantino. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is everything I wanted it to be and so much more. I was really looking forward to this film. I'm one of Tarantino's, not biggest fans, because there are so many fans of his, but he is the main reason why I truly love cinema nowadays. When I first discovered him by watching Django Unchained in cinema, it was one of the main times where I watched the film and said, okay, there is an actual identity to a film. There is an actual filmmaker making this, especially since I already knew the name of Tarantino. It wasn't just a film, it was a director. And the energy that he brings to his films, the variety, the pop, the sleazy elements, the more classy touches that he has, and the fan of the computer is boiling up again. Oh god, every time. But I truly love Tarantino movies. Most of them are 5 stars in my opinion. They are endlessly rewatchable, all for different reasons. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is just as good as the best of them. Where does it land in a ranking of his films? Probably top 4, top 5, I'd say. This is very different from his other movies. This is a real comedy. Most of his other movies are darkly comical, they have light moments. This one is just a comedy. Right from the beginning, this is an hilarious watch, very entertaining. It has some terrific chemistry between Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, which was a joy to watch. The narrative is structured in a very unusual way. There isn't no clear one act, second act, third act, whatever acts. There's none of that. This is just a day in the life of a stuntman and of an actor and of an actress. And you follow them around doing various things. One of them is acting, one is going to the movies, one is just doing the handyman work, and it's fantastic. It has the usual terrific dialogue that we've grown to love from Tarantino, And this time around, his self-indulgence, his love for movies is justified. But other times it may be very over the top, you get lots of references in Django and whatever. In here, it makes sense. We are in 1969 in the Mecca of movies, in Hollywood. So it makes sense to have a lot of names being dropped, a lot of Italian directors like Sergio Corbucci. You've got a lot of marquees with names of obscure films from that time. And it works, it just works. You also get some cameos from famous actors from the time and from famous actors nowadays. It's a stacked cast. Maybe too much stacked, like you get a lot of familiar faces and you go, oh shit, it's that guy is already left. Okay. And it adds to the mystique of the film, to the power of the film. But if you're going into this to watch, expecting to watch a movie with, I don't know, Al Pacino, with Bruce Dern, you got the wrong film. This is the DiCaprio Pitt show. And Margot Robbie has been subject of controversy, or more than Margot Robbie, how Sharon Tate is portrayed in the film, because some people wanted more screen time, wanted more of her. And this is not a spoilers, but you know how the story ends. You know that, unfortunately, Sharon Tate was brutally murdered with some of her friends in her house in 1969 by some Manson family members. And it's a tragic moment in history, in history of culture especially. It completely changed how the times were, when everyone was first very happy, very free. There was no fear, let's say, about people in general. But then the times changed. It showed that you're not safe even in your own home. And it was quite depressing. And I'd read about this story lots of years ago. I've documented it a few times throughout the years, and it's never pleasant. And some movies have already exploited this in more or less bad ways. There's this new film, Charlie Says. I already watched it in Venice, and I did not like it. The tone was all over the place. And the main thing I wanted to focus on is that Sharon Tate is always portrayed as the poor wife of Roman Polanski, who was brutally murdered in 1969. And Tarantino says, no, Sharon Tate was not a victim. Sharon Tate was a woman. She was an actual real living person. She had a life. She had dreams, she had hopes, she did things. And so, while we're following her, we're not remembering her as someone who died. We're remembering her as someone who has also lived. We're remembering her as someone who has acted in some movies that may not have been great, but that gave joy to people. We see her going to see Wrecking Crew in the cinema, seeing people around her laughing, and she's proud of the work she's done, because she's made people laugh, she's made people cheer. And that's how Tarantino wants us to remember Sharon Tate. As I've said before, she's an angelic creature. She is portrayed as perfection. And that's how we want to remember the people. We don't want to remember people by the way they died, but by the way they lived. And that is the biggest strength of this film. And also, you add to that some really fantastic scenes, comedic, dramatic, Leonardo DiCaprio fucking up his acting, constantly bubbling around. You get Brad Pitt going to the Manson family ranch, that is a very tense scene. There are so many great moments in this, and it all culminates in a fantastical ending that has already divided people, but it's excellent. It's the best, maybe even only way this could have ended. And everyone was afraid of how Tarantino was going to portray the Manson murders, and he does that shit in the most cathartic way possible. And if you watch the film, you know what I'm talking about. But it strips away the power from these maniacs, and it tries to do something that we all wish happened. It's effective. It's hilarious, and by the time the credits started to roll, I was crying. I'm not gonna lie, I was crying because I got swept up into the story. I was very well invested into these characters, and I forgot that this was a film based on a real event. It ended, I was like, that's perfect, that's just, mwah, excellent. I love the music, I love everything. And then the title comes, And the title says Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And that's just when I lost it. This happened once upon a time. Did it really happen? No. Could it have happened? We all hope it did. But still, is this Tarantino's best film? Honestly, the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm loving it. It's been almost a week since I first seen it, but it has stuck with me. It has stuck with me immensely. And I have to say, I love this. Might even become my favorite film of 2019, more than Parasite. Parasite is a tighter film, but this one is Tarantino's most personal work. It's Tarantino's most compelling piece of cinema, most his film. It doesn't feel like he's treading already traveled ground. It's not like the Kill Bill movies or other films that are constantly referencing other films that I do love, but this one feels like his first true film that is 100% Tarantino, and I loved it. It's not for everyone. It's going to be very slow for some people. It's going to be highly controversial for the ending, but I don't care. I simply, purely loved it. And I hope you guys love it too. But still, have you watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? And which is your favorite Quentin Tarantino film? Tell me in the comments below. Thanks guys for watching. To like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.